Good morning. My name is Adison Harrison, and I'm a new tutor here on Wyzant. And I'm super excited to show you two different ways to rewrite this form into vertex form. Let's first start by reading the question and going from there. The question says, determine the vertex of the quadratic function f of x equals x squared minus 10x plus 24, and rewrite it in vertex form. Now, let's first start by understanding what this question is saying. So we are given an equation. And that equation is f of x equals x squared minus 10x plus 24. Now, this equation is in the standard form of a quadratic equation. Now, the standard form of a quadratic equation can also be seen as y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. So in our case, the a is a 1 right here. The b is a negative 10, and the c is 24. So we're trying to go from the standard form to vertex form. Now, vertex form takes the vertex of a parabola. Let's just say it looks like this. And the vertex is right there, where the slope is 0. And we want the vertex, or the coordinates of the vertex, to be constants. So if we want to know what a constant is, the 24 or the c is our constant, so it has no x applied to it. So we need the vertex to have no x applied to it. Now, there are two specific ways that we can solve for this. There's an easy way, and then there's the more mathematical way. I'm going to first start by showing you the mathematical way. That way you understand where it comes from before you know how you do the easy way. So let's start by looking at the mathematical way. Now, the mathematical way of doing this is by taking this and completing the square. So in order to complete the square, here's what we have to do. So let's take our equation f of x equals x squared minus 10x plus 24. And what I'm first going to do is I'm going to move the 24 to the left side of the equation. That way we're just dealing with x's on the right side. And you'll see why that'll help us in just a second. So we're going to say negative 24 plus f of x, or in this case, we can just say y, equals x squared minus 10x. Now, the next step that we want to do is we want to make this into a perfect square. That way, it's x plus something squared, and it's not x plus something times x plus something. In order to do that, we take this b term right here, we divide it by 2 and square it. So we're going to take 10, we're going to divide it by 2, and then we're going to square it, which is going to be 25. So what we're going to do is we're going to take 25 and add it to the right side and the left side. Because if we add it to both sides, then that's the same thing as adding 1 to both sides, because they can cancel out. So we can do that in math because we're not actually changing the equation. We're just adding the same thing to both sides, which can be canceled out. And you'll understand that in just a second. I'll show it to you. So if we add 25 minus 24 plus y equals x squared minus 10x plus 25, you see that we can cancel out the 25s, so we're left with our original equation. That's why we can add 25 to both sides. So now let's simplify. So we get 1 plus y equals, and then we can make this into a perfect square. And that perfect square is going to be x minus 5 squared. So now that we have this in a perfect square, I want to move the 1 back over to the right side. So it's y equals x minus 5 squared minus 1. So now that we have this in this form, it is actually now in vertex form. The way the vertex form looks is y equals ax minus h squared plus k, where h and k are the x and y values of the vertex. And in this case, our a is just 1, our h is 5, and our k is negative 1. So just like that, we solve for the vertex of our equation, which is 5 comma negative 1, and we put it into vertex form, the two things that the question was asking us. So now that we understand the more mathematical way, I want to show you a bit of an easier way so I want you to understand how to do it mathematically, but I also want you, if you're on a time crunch, to be able to do it quickly. So that quick way is we're going to use a little trick. And that trick is the formula for just the x-intercept of a vertex. And we can use this formula, and it comes from the standard form of a quadratic equation. And this is what it looks like. It's negative b over 2a. Now, again, the b is the negative 10 in our case, and the a is 1. So if we say negative 10 over 2 times 1, we're going to get 5. So 5 is the x-intercept of our vertex. And now that we have the x form of our x point of our vertex, we can just plug 5 back into our equation to solve for the y coordinate of the vertex. So f of 5 equals 5 squared minus 10 times 5 plus 24. So we get 25 plus 50 plus 24, minus 50, minus 50, which is going to equal negative 1. So our coordinate is 5, negative 1. And if we want to put this into vertex form, we would say y equals x minus 5 squared minus 1. Just plugging in those values into the vertex form that I explained right here. So just like that, I showed you 2 different ways to solve for this equation. One a little bit more mathematically and one a little easier. So if you're under a time crunch, you can solve for it way faster. So now that I've shown you these 2 ways, I hope that you now understand a little bit more fully quadratic equations and vertex. Thank you.